The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The senses are different outlets of the activities of lust. Lust is reserved within the body but is given vent through the senses. Therefore the senses are superior to the body as a whole. These outlets are not in use when in superior Krishna consciousness. In Krishna consciousness, the soul makes direct consciousness to Krishna. Therefore the hierarchy of bodily function as described here ultimately ends with the Supreme Soul. I want to give you a practical demonstration of this. The body is made out of how many parts? Huh? Right. I'm in the gross body. Bhumya aponalu vayu kam. Earth, water, fire. It's called Stula Sarira. Oops. There's some dirt on the Stula Sarira. This is a gross body, right? Erde, earth, water, fire, bhumya, apo, nalo, vayu, kam. Erde, earth, water, fire, air, either. Stula Sarira. Now comes Manu Sarira, the mind, thinking, feeling, willing, my emotions. Sometimes I feel good, sometimes I feel bad, sometimes I like it, sometimes I hate it, sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down. There was a famous, and a person who's sometimes up and sometimes down, we know this very well, that means we are on the mental platform. Like there was a song of the black community in America, the slave community. The slaves had a song, nobody knows the trouble I've seen, or nobody knows but Jesus. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down. Oh yes, Lord, sometimes I'm really on the ground. Oh yes, Lord. It means the person's on the mental platform, obviously. That's the mental platform. Sometimes mind is going like this, like a sinus curve. It has its height, it has lows, and we all go through emotions like this. Isn't it? You agree? You agree? This is everybody. The temporary appearance of happiness and distress is like coming and going of summer and winter season. They appear from sense perception, and one must learn to tolerate without being disturbed. Matras, pasas, pikanti, ashitoshna, tukadugada, agama, painos, nitas, tam sitik shasvabhata. So that's the platform of the mind. Then comes the platform of intelligence. The platform of intelligence is steady. Like for example, the emotional life is here, and the knowledge, the understanding of my situation, that I'm a German, and I'm an American, and I'm blue or black or white, or I live in this and that place, and this, I have a German passport. That's in the intelligence, situated in the intelligence. It doesn't move. The intelligence is steady. Not the mind is like this. Intelligence is steady. No matter how you feel, you know you are a German, and you are in this form of life, that form of life. This is the home where you came from. It's coupled to the intelligence. It's fixed. But you don't. It doesn't. It is not subject to the emotions of the mind. Everybody knows where he's born. I was born on 12th of March 1946. I joined the Hare Krishna movement on the 1st of January 1972. That was 3 days ago, 46 years ago, and so on and so on. I went to this temple. It's all in intelligence. And then we come to the false ego, that we identify this, the mind, the gross body, the mind, the intelligence, and false ego conception. And this is actually the soul. This is you, the banana. It's the soul. This is called the Stula Sarira, and this is called the Linga Sarira. So when we dream, what happens? The soul travels, Prabhupada says this very clearly, in its subtle body, and you can go here, you can there. Just 10 minutes before I came here, I was still sleeping in a dream. I was traveling somewhere. So this is exactly what's happening in a very practical way. The Linga Sarira, the Stula Sarira lies in that. The Linga Sarira is traveling from one place to another. And at the time of death, it is traveling from this Sarira, from this Stula Sarira, into this Stula Surya. Very simple. It is connected. There's a connection here between the gross body and the subtle body. That connection is like a cord. The Tibetans call it a silver cord. It's not really a cord, but it's super more subtle than that. It's attachment. Like, for example, no matter how drunk a person is, he will find his house. There's so many doors in Munich where everybody drinks like anything, beer. So when they come from the Oktoberfest, everybody finds his own house because of attachment. You see? There's a connection there. So this keeps us to be able to go only so far away from our body, and then we have to come back. When we die, this connection breaks. And we are forced to take, our old house is broken. We are forced to go to another Stula Surya, into this body. That's all. Very simple. So the process of dying is a very slow process to give up this attachment to the gross body. Give up this attachment to the gross body. And the house is like if you live in a house and it becomes, first there's a hole in the roof, and gradually it becomes worse. And there's a time when you have to move. It's impossible. The house is destroyed. So at that time, you give up your attachment to your house. Your house is burned, you don't attach anymore to the house. You leave. And you go into another house. And the verse is really interesting. You see, we had already this verse, boom, and the next one, Sariram Yat Avapnoti, this is verse 8 in 15th chapter, Sariram Yat Avapnoti, Yat Shapyu Kramatishvaraha, Rihit Vaitani Samnyati, Vayur Gandam Isvasayat. A living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits another. So he takes the conceptions that are in the emotional setup, and what is in the intelligence, on all the, what you call it, the samskaras, the things you have seen, different samskaras, what is it called? The impressions. Samskaras. He takes all the samskaras with him. They're here, they're in the subtle body. They're not in the gross body, they're in the subtle body. You know? He takes all the samskaras with him and takes them into another form. And this form will be according to the mental constitutions, and then Yam Yam Api Suran Bhavan Tyajati Antikaliva. You know this verse? Tantamivati Kauntiya. Wherever the mind is thinking at the time of death, there he goes. So the mind is the mind is pushing us all the time. All the time. So we have to understand this difference between the body. I need a spoon. Do we have a spoon here? Some piece of metal or something? I forgot my spoon. A knife or something? Pen? So to make this clear, what is mind and intelligence? Listen. I decide that tomorrow morning I will get up at 2 o'clock to chant my rounds. That's in intelligence. Why? Because if I get up and chant my rounds at 2 o'clock, I can chant all my rounds before Mangalarti. After Mangalarti, I can read, and the whole day I'm set. So I set the clock. The clock rings at 2 o'clock. How we call it, the alarm clock. The mind says, come on, Prithu, it's too early. You need just 5 minutes. 5 minutes. The senses also, they say, yes, the mind is right. We are also still tired. Please. The intelligence said, no, Prithu, you must get up. No, come on, don't be so hard on yourself, Prithu. You know, take it easy. Take it easy, baby, take it as it comes. Senses also said, Buddha says, yes, I feel terribly. It is always the senses in cahoot with the mind that get us into trouble. All the time. Shall I eat another piece of cake? Yes. Shall I go and get another piece of maha? The senses say yes, immediately. Mind says, come on. I know yesterday you already ate a cheesecake, today you shouldn't eat cheesecake. But the mind and the senses, they're in connection always. They're in collaboration, in cahoot. Always. And they're superimposing their ideas on the intelligence. The intelligence becomes weak and says, all right. And so in this example, the bell rang, functionally, senses say, I'm too tired. Mind says, I don't feel good. Intelligence finally gives in. Okay, he turns himself to the other side and he wakes up 2 hours later. Right? And you have this in every situation of life. That senses want one thing, oh, they see this nice gulab jamun. Mind says, yes, it tastes so good. Intelligence said, no, you have already had a gulab jamun. And gulab jamun is full of sugar. And when you take sugar on the Sunday feast, you know exactly you have difficulty sleeping at night because you have too much sugar in your blood. So you have this situation. The German poet Goethe, he said, there are two souls in my breast. There are not two souls. He doesn't, it's not the soul, there's only one soul. But the mind on one side, in cahoot with the senses, and on the other side, the soul, the intelligence, they pull into different directions. This one goes by logic, by reason, and argument. Get up, chant my rounds. Prithu, get out of bed, chant your rounds. But the mind is saying, take it easy. And so the senses. This is a drama that you have here in human life. You have the senses on one side, you have the mind together with the senses, and then you have your intelligence here. And this is the false ego that you identify with intelligence, with the mind, with the gross body, and here's the self. It has really very little to do with all of this. The self is Krishna consciousness. Now, as I explained, normally it takes a whole life to sever the attachment to the stula sarira, to the gross body. My father-in-law just died yesterday, and it took him 15 months to die. And in the end it was all terrible. You know, he was pumped full of drugs. You know, it's not easy to die, very difficult. And so by that time, at one stage, people become peaceful. They struggle in death, but there's a time when they become very peaceful because they know it's over. The game is over. Just let it go. And so he goes from here and he enters into another body. The subtle body, the linga sarira, enters into a new body, and the new body is according to the mental constitution of the old body, of the linga sarira. He chooses, if you have a lot of money, you buy a nice house, and if you have very little money, you buy some old house. If you have nice money, you buy a Mercedes, and if you have no money, you buy a Suzuki or something, you know, or Sumo, Tata Sumo or something. According to your mental condition. It takes impressions of that people. What happens when somebody commits suicide? He's obviously still attached to the body. So there is this cord, is still there, you know, this kind of subtle attachment. And he stands on the tower. He wants to jump. And sometimes it takes him hours to make a decision. Because the senses, he has no feeling anymore for the body. The mind, he feels terrible. The mind tells him, jump. Right? And the intelligence said, don't do that. That's the situation. And it's not, sometimes my father-in-law, the very same person I just mentioned who just died, he told me a long time ago, that he was in New York, and the whole traffic came to a halt. Everybody got out of his car, looked up, and there was a man about to jump. He couldn't make up his mind. So finally, after 10 minutes, somebody screamed, "Jump!" And hundreds of people, all the Americans, "Jump, jump, jump!" And he jumped. They facilitated him to make a decision. They gave him strength. It's America. Everything is like in a movie in America, you know. It's in Germany this would not happen. Nobody will encourage a man who's on his way in that situation to jump. It's America. They want to go home, tell their wife, "I saw somebody who committed suicide. I've seen it with my own eyes." America, right? Everything is like cinema, you know. So, and I know I have a friend, not friend, but person I learned to know. He was a doctor in a helicopter, you know, that fly to some place where there's somebody suffering. And they were ordered to land or to help a person who was standing on the television tower about to jump. And so they lowered him down on the rope. This doctor was very intelligent. He said, "I give you 3 seconds. Jump or come with me. 1, 2, 3. And you cannot make up your mind in 3 seconds. He said, "All right, I'm coming." So he went with his doctor. You see? So if sometimes to do that final decision that you actually exit, this takes some time. Sometimes it's for days. People think about it and do it. But finally they jump, and now what happens? The rope is broken while the attachment to the old body is there. He cannot take a new body, he's not ready for it, and he's a ghost. That's a ghost. He lost his body from one moment, the cord was broken, the body is finished, and here he is. And he is not allowed to take another body, because he is not thinking of a new body, he thinks of the old body. He is conscious of the old body. Therefore, he cannot enter a new body. You see the point? And he wants to eat, he wants to sleep, but he doesn't have a body to eat and sleep. He doesn't have the body to do that. So he enters somebody else's body, to eat through this body, and to sleep through this body, and to have sex through this body. And that's why you call somebody is possessed. He's not possessed by the devil, it's just he's possessed indeed by another ghost. And sometimes you meet people, I've met many people, that were possessed by ghosts.
Especially like drunkards, druggers,
Huh?
and those who take drugs and drink a lot.
Drug addicts.
Drug addicts.
Yeah.
You see, ghosts, they're attracted to people who are mentally defunct, mentally weak. You know, if somebody is weak, sometimes somebody takes too many drugs, he sees ghosts. I've seen ghosts before. When I was a little child, little boy, I saw so many ghosts.
What do they look like?
Subtle bodies, like you, but they're subtle. And my children, my son Madan Mohan, he and his other brother, we bought an island in the middle of Ireland. And it was an old, beautiful country house. It is still there. Beautiful ladies there. And they said, "Dad, my son comes every night. There's an old woman coming with 2 children." And I said, "That's not true." The other boy says, "Yes, that is true. I also saw. They look very old-fashioned." And so I found out that one of the previous owners, his wife died in a train crash in Watford, where we have now our temple. In Watford,
England.
In Watford, England, the 2 children died. The woman died, and she was still in the house as a ghost. I remember when my little boy, Madi, he's not 40 years old, he's little. For the father, they're always little. You know, we went together to Kenya because he had pneumonia. In Jaitiyata, we went island, which is very damp. It's the worst climate for pneumonia. If you have that type of problem, you need dry and hot. So within 3 days, 4 days, he was here. But there was in the house, he said, there's some old Muslim ghost going in this house up and down at night. We found out from the owner later Well, it's true. I remember I drove with my children at that time from Vrindavan to Jaipur. And in the middle of it, the children said, "Oh, Peter, you see the ghost there, see the ghost, see the ghost." I don't see anything. We drove around the corner, there was a bus burning. And so many ghosts were. He said, "You see all these ghosts running around." You see, if the life is terminated from one moment to another, then this cord that connects, this subtle cord of attachment that connects the gross body to the keeps it together. That attachment breaks only down to the deterioration of the growth of the stula sarira in due course of time in the process of dying. If that is cut from one moment to another, this is a ghost. This is a ghost. I remember when I was in the student days, I was a fan of Jimi Hendrix. Who knows Jimi Hendrix? Okay. I was a fan. So we went to his concert. It was the last concert. A week later he was dead. He was actually murdered, as now comes out by his roadies. The roadies.
Oh.
The manager killed him because he became so irregular in his performances. Sometimes he would not come, sometimes. And he said he's more worse dead than alive. So they actually drowned in his own, just took a funnel and pumped red wine into his lungs, although he never drank red wine. It was completely pushed under the carpet. He admitted when he died, you know. So now here's the thing. I had a picture of, I lived in a commune of people, 8 or 9 or 10 or something, and we had a huge picture of Jimmy. So at night we were all completely high on LSD. So I put this album on, Access Board of Love. You know? And all of a sudden this is 1 week later after the concert, or 2 weeks, the picture moved and his ghost came out. And my friends saw it, Jimmy. They ran towards him and walked through him. And I said, "That's not Jimmy, that's his ghost. Jimmy is dead." Next morning I went to the newspaper. Jimi Hendrix died. This is a true story. I cannot tell you any story. So there's plenty of ghosts, and I saw as a little child them drive me crazy. I prayed to Jesus when I was inside. "Please," Mama told me, "please pray to Jesus." And they went away. So when somebody is in a weak condition, he is suspected to being haunted by ghosts. And this is what a ghost is. It's nothing but this, the linga sarira, which is mind, mana sarira, buddhi sarira, ahankara, and the soul being in this setup and going from one body to another. Very simple. One body is finished, he goes, oops, here he is, at night, he's dreaming, he can drift out. Prabhupada says his soul is traveling in his alter conception, in his mind, mind, in this vehicle, astral travel. We call it astral travel, from one place. And I fly many times. Who flies at night? You fly. I fly all the time, also. Because the vata condition, if somebody is very vata, you know, if he tends to fly, it's air, you know. So you fly like this, into all kinds of situations. It's fun. I enjoy it so much. And when I wake up, I say, "My God, there was such a nice feeling to just fly like a bird through the temple room, over the head of everybody, and out in front of the deities, and coming back from the ceiling all of a sudden." I've done it many times. It's very interesting and very, how do you say, enthusing. It's very enthusing. So that's what happens here. You've got to understand the simple technology. Bhumi, apo, nalo, vayu, kam. Earth, water, fire, air, either. Manu, buddhir, evacha, hankara, iti, and binna, prakriti, ashtara. These are the 8 elements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here they are. Make sense?
Yeah.
And so you go in this way from one body to another, and if all of a sudden, normally this attachment, this cord of attachment, you were not there. It's like, even if you're drunk, you will find your door of your house out of thousands of doors, because this cord is there of attachment to that house or to that body. And so even if you travel at night in your spaceship, it's like a spaceship, the Linga Sarira, you will come for sure back into this body. Very simple. Everybody understand?
Yes.
What happens when you dream? You have explained. What happens when you die? We have explained. What happens when you commit suicide? We have explained. All these things. What is a ghost, actually? We have explained. It's just a Linga Sarira with a passenger inside, and he can't take another body because he blew it. Or by war, by car accident, if you have an accident. Like here in this house, for example, very interesting experience. When George Harrison, he was here. You know this?
Yeah.
He stayed in my house.
Yeah, I saw a picture of you and him in Kutumara.
Yes, he stayed in my house. So he died, he was shot.
I thought he was stabbed.
George.
George Harrison.
We're talking about John.
Oh, John. Wait.
John Lennon.
John Lennon.
So I tried to talk with George about John Lennon, about this case. I said, we should perform a pinda. He said, why? He said, because he's a ghost. If you die like this, you're a ghost, by violence. And he said, well, I don't want to hear anything about it. I said, why not? He said, that's the one thing I'm afraid about. What happened to him can happen to me too. That's what he said.
What he said?
What happened to him can happen to me too. Let's not go there. He didn't want to know. He didn't want to go there. You understand?
Yeah.
He didn't want to go there. So then I spoke with Bhakti True Swami, and he said, yes, we should perform a pinda. And so I gave $100, he gave $100, Panchagoda gave $100, somebody else, I forgot, gave $100, we had $400, and we cooked a feast in the temple, and we used to have a banner, feast for John Lennon, after George left. 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later.
After George left.
Yeah, because he didn't want to get into it.
Yeah.
I wanted him to get involved, And Bhakti Sri Swami said, when you do this, you feel his presence. So I took that Mahaprasad, put it in my room, had a picture there, said, John, take this is for you, you call the ghost. And I felt the ghost in my back, as if my hair were raising. Like I had to experience with ghosts, your hair go like this, It feels like if somebody punched you in the stomach, Yeah. So that happened, he came, and then Maharaj said at that time that if this is successful, you feel it, and he will be grateful to you because you help him to take another body by this pinda. A couple of months later, a man came to me, a friend of mine, but not so close. And he said, do you need any money? I said, well, I wouldn't say no. You have any money? He said, well, I can give you a donation. I said, how much is it? 20,000 marks. Take it. I said, well, no directions. Who would? And I understood this is, a ghost can influence another person's mind. Who's in this situation, he influenced him, put in this mind. He was wondering who should I give a donation, and somebody whispered me. This is how that works. They can influence people's mind. There's a story in the Old Testament. I never could find it, but I was told it's called the Grateful Dead. This group, the Grateful Dead, that took the name from there. There was a man from Samaria. The Jews didn't want to have anything to do with the people of Samaria because they were Baal worshippers. They worshipped some god.
What?
Baal worshippers. They worshipped some other non-Jewish god.
Oh.
That's why the story of the merciful Samaritan. Samaritan of the merciful, because nobody of the Jewish people wanted to help this man. And this man from Samaria, from the last place in the world, he came and helped. So this is a story. There was a man from Samaria, He died on the street in Jerusalem. Nobody of the Jews wanted to touch him because he is unclean. So he's unclean. So one man came, Jewish man, he looked left and right at night, he stole the body, gave him a funeral, put him into the family grave. Next night the ghost came to him and said, I'm so grateful to you. Thank you so much. Can I do something for you? So, well, can you give me a house? Yes, yes, I can give you a house. So little later, some faraway relative died, and then they opened the last will. It was stated that this person is getting the house. And the relative said to the rabbi, they give you some money, change it. He said, no, what's written is written. You should have the house. He got the house. He moved into the house. At night, the ghost came and said, I gave you a house, what else you want? He said, well, can you give me a wife? House is no good if there's no wife. He said, yes. Very little later, one girl of a very rich man in a away city came to him and said, my daughter is in love with your boy. He came to the father. He said, done in Oriental society, parent to parent. So we should marry. The man said, I'm a poor man, you're a rich man, people will immediately speculate. But there must be some pre-marriage sexual relations, babies on the way or something. Why should otherwise a rich man's daughter marry a poor man's boy, you know? No, the rich man said, I don't care. My her desire is more important to me than anything. So the marriage took place. So he had the house, he had the wife. At night, the ghost came and said, I gave you a house, I gave you a wife. Is there anything else? He said, well, we don't have money. You think you can give some money? Yes, no problem. So 2 days later, they were digging in the garden, his father and his boy, to dig the field, to grow some kartoshka or some carrots or some markovka or something. And all of a sudden, when they digged into the ground, bang, there was some metal in. They pulled the metal out, and it was money. Golden coins.
It's a true story.
Yeah, this is from the Old Testament.
The Old Testament.
Yeah, it's the Old Testament. And so the man said, the ghost said, I have given you a house, I've given you a wife, I've given you money, what else can I do for you? And the man said, no, I thank you so much, you're really a grateful dead. And that's where it comes from, the Grateful Dead. And so in India, I've heard from Bhakti Swami, if you perform the pinda for somebody who died an unfortunate death, so that his linga sarira could not find a proper body, he's a ghost. That ghost will come to you if you perform that, and he will in some way indicate his gratefulness, like the ghost in this story of the Grateful Dead. You see? So I have personal experience. I performed the pinda, and I felt the presence of John Lennon very strongly, and very few later, somebody I had no idea that this person would ever give me a penny. He came forward and said, I decided to give you this money. Will you take it? I said, well, thank you very much. I'm above so many things, but somebody gives me a donation, I will say not no. And so would you. Right? So you see, there are also good ghosts. There is that Paramadvedi Swami. His name was Alanath. We were together in boarding school. And when I was 12, he was 11.
From Germany?
Yeah, we know each other from the very beginning. And I had enough of him even at that time. In any case, so we, how did I get there? Wait a minute. Huh?
There is good ghost. There is some good ghost.
What?
Good ghost.
Ghost.
Good.
Good ghost.
Some ghosts are good.
Oh, yeah. So he was preaching in South America. And when he started a center in XY place, I don't know what it was, I don't remember, there were always some people in black told me that would come and do this service, that service, and that service, and they belonged to something. So we asked them many times, who are you? He said, well, we can't really talk about it. So one of them was so good in his service that he became the treasurer. And so one day this Paramabhiti, he took him aside and said, tell me the secret. He said, all right, here's the secret. We're worshipping a ghost, his name is Ram Tasi. And Ram Tasi was thrown out of India due to some offenses, and his name was Sita Ram. Ram Tasi. It's just the other way around. You see the same name, Ram Tasi, Sita Ram. Right? I was thrown out. Now I tell you one thing, this ghost said. One day there will be people coming in this country. They have shaved heads, and they're singing the names of God. And they have a sign on the forehead, you can't miss them. So 500 years later, they were worshipping this ghost for 500 years. They saw the devotees. And that's why they came and served. So they're also good ghosts. They're bad ghosts, they're good. There's even Holy Ghosts in the Catholic Church. Right? There's a Holy Ghost.
Father, Son, and God.
That's right. Father, Son, and God. So now we know, we have seen in a very practical way this demonstration, and that's why I brought all this cutlery, practically speaking, here, tops and pans. This is the body, bhumi, apona, vayu, calm, earth, water, air, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, ego, and the self. Now, we come to the final conclusion. What happens when I need somebody? You come, please, here. This is God for a moment. He's God. So you have to. So what should I do then? You say this way. I see. Get up, sit up. So when the person has no false ego anymore, if he's living on the platform of the self, he doesn't need the gross body. So when he leaves the body, he leaves the gross body, one, he leaves his mind, he leaves his intelligence behind, he leaves even his false ego behind, and the soul tries to go to God, and God catches it. We do our best, Krishna does the rest. It's very simple. Very simple. The soul doesn't need anymore the gross body, the stula sarira, it doesn't need the subtle body anymore. It goes out and God catches it. We do our best, Krishna does the rest. Very simple and very graphic. This is you. So now we have seen the whole thing. Practical, in a very practical demonstration. I hope you liked it. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah, Mataji.
As you just demonstrated, that God catches us when we leave all our
Yeah.
stool body, stool body.
Yeah.
But if anybody doesn't remember God, but he leaves all these bodies,
Huh?
all bodies, he leaves them. He doesn't remember God. Still God catches him.
Can somebody give this, translate this?
This is actually when a man does not remember their God actually, then how this God catches that soul?
That's only if somebody remembers Krishna. Yam people, wherever the mind is at the time of death. If the mind is on Krishna, we saw Prabhupada when he was lying in his, I was with him. Last 3 weeks I was with him in the same room. Massage his feet sometimes. They were very blown up. Like, very, like balloons. Because he had died of kidney failure. If you know kidney failure, the doctor told him when he came to London in April or May, he told him, Swamiji, you have to go on, it's an Indian doctor, he said, you have to go on kidney machine. Otherwise you will not survive the winter. Doctor said, I'm not going to do this. He said, you will not survive. So when the kidney is failing, the water is rising. When it comes to the heart, that's it. So when you touch Prabhupada's feet, they were reddish. If you touch it, it's white. If you press, and immediately the red comes back. That means it's highly inflamed. Highly inflamed. And so a day before he left, somebody, Bhakti True Swami, gave him medicine. And Prabhupada said, did you close the bottle? Prabhupada also wanted when he gives the medicine, immediately close the bottle, and then gives the medicine, not that the bottle stands there and you push it over, you lose the medicine. So Prabhupada said, did you close the bottle? He said, no, I forgot. Prabhupada said, that is your disease. He said, all of you. You know how to open bottles, you don't know how to close them. You start so many new things, but you don't see the consequences. That's what Prabhupada said. That's introducing things into ISKCON is very dangerous, because you don't see the consequences. Opening a new bottle, let's try this one, let's how about this one, that one, let's change this. So many changes. Dangerous, very dangerous. Ne pas se penser au dehors, it says on the railroad. Don't lean out, because when you do so, you may get your head scratched. Huh? Ne pas se penser au dehors. Do not lean out. It's better to be conservative and stay as directly as possible to the teaching. You know, so that then the day before or hours before he left, I forgot. It's so long back. He said he lifted his hand. He was already. He lifted his hand very peacefully. I remember the hand there was no trembling. I was astounded. You know, the hand went. And he said everything. It took him a long time. Everything moving and non-moving. There's nothing but Krishna. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Yoman pashyati sarvatra savam shamad pashyati. One who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. Krishna says, I'm never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. And the last thing he said, you know, he said, Hare Krishna. There was it. So he remembered Krishna, and therefore he went back to Krishna. Not everybody.
What would the Jnanis do? They don't remember God, of course.
No, they go to somewhere else, whatever that is in their mind. You know, people remember all kinds of crazy things when they die.
Moksha.
All kinds of, they have to come back. That's why it's important to remember Krishna. And if you work nicely for Krishna, Prabhupada said, even if you don't remember Krishna, we remember us. You know, we need Krishna. Not by ourselves, by our own endeavor alone can we reach Krishna. We have to do our best. That's why this example, banana is gone. And that's why it's so good. We do our best, and it is Krishna who catches us. He does the rest. You know, so we have to do. The idea to depend on Krishna is very nice, but we have to also do our part. It says God helps those who help themselves. You know, we have to do our part. And then Krishna will help us. It's cooperation. It's not that we just depend on God, you know. God save you. It doesn't work like this. You know. We have to do our part. We have to make an endeavor. In this endeavor, like Krishna says, it's an endeavor. There's no loss or diminution, and even a little progress on this path will save the greatest man for fear. You know, there's an endeavor. To chant nice rounds, 16 rounds or whatever, is an endeavor. We have to endeavor. And the more we endeavor, the more comes Krishna to our help. Yeyatamam prapadeti tam satar vajamyam. According he surrenders unto me, I reward him. It's reciprocatory. We can say, well, we just depend on God. You know? So most people in this world, they are not giving to God, they want from God. Just like, for example, if you take Christian philosophy, Christian thinking, the highest thing is that Jesus forgave our sins, right? So therefore we have no problem anymore. You have, because even if your sins are all forgiven, you still have no love of God. And that's the hard part. The hard part is to achieve love of God. You see, Ado Shraddha Tato Sadhu Sangha, Vajana Kriya, and then Anatta Nivritti Sat. It means you're free from all attachment. And all sins are forgiven on that platform. But that doesn't mean that you're already on the platform of prema, even bhava. You know, so Prabhupada says Krishna can forgive very easily. But to achieve love of God, that's the hard one. So even if all your sins are forgiven, okay, you may go to heaven. You don't go to Vaikuntha, you don't go to the spiritual world. So therefore, this focusing on the idea
that the goal of life is just my sins are forgiven, that's not perfect knowledge. That just brings you to heaven. It doesn't bring you to Vaikuntha, or to speak of Goloka Vrindavan. You see the point? And people are so preoccupied. Oh, Jesus died for our sins. And I said this in class, I think, the other day, that there was a poster, a huge banner on a festival in America, thousands, 35,000 youth. It says, unless we sin, Jesus died for nothing. So we have to sin as much as possible, otherwise Jesus died for nothing. This is just making a mockery out of Jesus. Making a mockery out of him. Somebody had a question here, yeah?
The senses are controlled by mind. Mind is controlled by intelligence. But we see most of the time, mind wins, intelligence defeats. So this statement seems to me a false statement.
No. It means to see, normally people are controlled by their senses and their mind, right? But say if you want to achieve something, even if you want to be an Olympic runner, you cannot afford yourself to listen to your mind and to your senses. The mind is, even if a mountaineer, the wind comes and the senses says, oh, it's getting cold, come on, let's go back. And the mind says, yes, I'm not sure we're going to get there. It'll be dangerous, we're late. Intelligence said, no, we have to pursue. So if he's strong in his intelligence, he can achieve a goal. All people who achieve something, even a football player, he's a person who controls his senses and his mind. By determination. Determination takes place in intelligence, You need some intelligence to do this. And that's just material intelligence. What to speak of chanting nicely? You need very good intelligence, perfect intelligence, to be able to control with your intelligence. There's this verse here. Let me read it to you. Here. The senses are superior to matter, right? Clear. Because the senses, my eyes see the matter. The plate cannot see me, but I can see the plate, right? Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is higher than the mind. And the soul is higher than, the banana is gone. The soul is higher than the intelligence. Thus knowing, this is a verse, Evam Bude Param Budva Samstabhyatmanam Atmana Jahi Shatrum Mahabaho Kama Rupam Durasaram. Thus knowing oneself, the soul, being to be transcendental to the senses, the mind and the intelligence. One should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, and thus by spiritual intelligence, by spiritual strength, conquer the insatiable enemy of lust. Because lust has taken position of the senses, of the mind, even of the intelligence. Mind is polluted. And by sex and by drugs and by drinking and whatnot. So one has to use a higher self to control the lower self. And the mind says, let's have a whiskey. Use it from the intelligence and said, that's not good for you at all. Shall I do this? No, don't do that. Everybody in spiritual life is in a situation that the senses and the mind want something. And you have to learn to say no. That's the whole thing. You have to control the lower self by the higher self, ultimately by the soul, by the desires of the soul. Intelligent mind controlled everything. Thus knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, the mind and intelligence, Almighty Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate intelligence. You have to make up your mind. This is, you say in English. How do you do this? By intelligence. By intelligence you make up your mind. The mind wants everything, going here like a dog. So you have to steady and say, come on, sit down. All right, sit down. Right? Senses are like, they're running all over the place. So you have to control. When you start chanting, what happens? The mind is running away. The senses are running away. And you have to bring them back. So no, Prithu, you want to chant. Chanting means you want to hear every mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, 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 Ram. And then all of a sudden, Facebook. Facebook, you go, just a minute. 10 minutes later, quarter of an hour, 20 minutes, oh, I got trapped. Shut down that damn thing. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram, Ram. Right? Especially when we are chanting, we can see how the mind is running away. He's running away from Krishna, or mind. He's running away from Krishna. Why? Because the concept is there, the concept, me first, not Krishna first. Aham purva means me first. That's what we learn. In the material world, everybody says me first. My mother used to say first God, then God, then God. That means Bhagavan purva. Krishna first. Then the others, and then the others, and then the others, and then yourself. It's a very good idea. First God. So we are in this concept of me first. In kindergarten, I want to have this toy. No, I want to have this toy. This is my toy. No, it is my toy. They're fighting. Already in the kindergarten. I'm the body, I'm Amiti. Everything is mine, and me first. So, as long as we are takers, we cannot go back to Krishna. We have to become givers. Because the more things we take, the less we have to give. We become poorer and poorer in giving, the more we are expert in taking. Rich people that can have millions and millions of dollars. Steve Jobs, everybody is practically elevated to sainthood in Western countries. He died with $7 billion, 250 million. What on earth is he going to do with all this money? If he would have given just $1 million to ISKCON, even 10,000, it would have made a difference. He couldn't, he was such a kripana, miser, that he couldn't bring himself to give 10,000 or 100,000. What is a dollar if you have millions of dollars? What is it? What is it? He was such a kripana, And all these people die. All these big rock stars, they die, they don't give money. They're so attached to matter. They're so poor. Spiritually they're poor. Materially they're rich. It's better to be spiritually rich than materially poor. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premananda Hari.